Robert Klemko, NFL writer for Sports Illustrated's the MMQB.com. He's in the thick of things. He was there in the locker room yesterday with the Cowboys. He got yelled at by Dez Bryant. All right, Robert, take me in step by step. How did this all play out? And then we'll have follow-up questions.
All right. Well, we go in the locker room, and as you know, with like a bad football team, like a 2-6 team, there's usually not anybody around for open locker room. But Dez seemed to be there waiting for people. So Jean-Jacques Taylor is walking up, and Dez immediately starts laying into him for a column he wrote that Dez didn't agree with. And so everybody's just kind of hanging out watching because there's nobody else in the locker room. And Dez is getting louder and louder and screaming at him and cursing at him and saying that he's tired of people disrespecting the team. And I thought, some interaction between a reporter and a player, they know each other for a long time. I'm not from here. I don't know what goes on down here. I'm not going to pay much attention to it. I'm not going to report it. But I'm kind of eavesdropping because it's kind of funny. So Devin Street, the other wide receiver, who I'd never even heard of, comes over and he starts going off on Jean-Jacques too. And Jacques goes, "I'm not even talking to you." And then Devin's like, "He called me the N-word." And everybody's like, "What?" And then Dez Bryant just starts screaming that over and over again. And then he looks at the rest of us, and he's like, "I bet y'all not going to report that Jacques called Devin the N-word." And he starts yelling what I tweeted eventually, which was, "Until they stop disrespecting this team, I don't give a F. Mother effer's sick." So then I thought, all right, this is moved on from a conflict between reporter and player, and now it involves all of us. He's interrupting the open locker room to call all of us mother effers. So I went over to the Dallas media, a couple local Dallas media guys, and I was like, "Hey, are you guys reporting this?" And they were like, "No, we don't really need that kind of trouble with the team." And
what?
I said, and I thought to myself, well, this is pretty newsworthy. So I tweeted it. Dan, literally a minute later, he's looking at his phone at his locker, and he looks up in the middle of a Jason Witten interview, and he goes, "Who's Robert Klemko?" So I walk over, I raise my hand, and he gets in my face, like 3 inches from my face, and all the cameras are on Witten, right? He's in my face, 3 inches from my face, and Eric Prisbell, who was recording for USA Today, he has the exact quote. He said, "What the F are you doing? If you're going to report something, report it right. Report the whole thing. Don't single me out like that. That's the expletive I'd be talking about right there." And then he's like, "Why didn't you report that Jacques called Devin N-word?" And
did you hear that conversation at all with Jean-Jacques Taylor and Street?
Yeah, I was standing 10 feet away.
So he never used the N-word.
And so I didn't hear it.
Okay.
If he used it, he whispered it. And so I said, because I didn't hear him say that, Dez. And then that's when you see the cameras pan over, and Dez is being separated from me by Rich Dalrymple, who's like, "Just leave it alone." And then Dez is like, "Fix it, Rich." And then Jason Garrett comes in, and he's like, "What the hell's going on?" And Dez just starts screaming, "They dirty, they dirty." And
you mean Jason Witten,
especially you.
Jason Witten, not Garrett.
No, Garrett was there.
Oh, he was. I just saw Witten come over.
Yeah, Witten comes over, Garrett pokes his head in, and Dez is screaming at him. And then I guess Garrett realizes that, like, Dez has gone off the handle and he can't fix it right there. So Garrett walks away. And then Witten and Dalrymple convince him to walk out, Dez. And then Dez goes and gets like a Beats by Dre pillbox thing, those loudspeakers, and he puts on So Fresh and So Clean by Outkast, and he walks back through the locker room, interrupting whatever interviews are going on with like this huge grin on his face, and then he goes to the shower.
Okay. Was any of this premeditated, Robert, that Dez maybe wanted to rally the troops? Or I understand the column and where he'd be bothered by some of the things that were written by Jean-Jacques Taylor, and they have a history, those two. But Did any of it feel like it was staged to almost say, I'm going to rally my teammates, or I'm not going to let you pick on Greg Hardy, or we're not dead yet. We got Romo coming back soon. Was there any of that, or was this just kind of silliness right in front of you?
Yeah, I thought about that last night as I was kind of replaying it in my head, and I just remember listening to teammates' reaction to this. And one of the guys said, "I wish I could Snapchat this," and others of them were kind of giggling, but they're kind of laughing at Dez, because he was behaving so bizarrely with a reporter who wrote something. I mean, he was giving the reporter so much credit. Jean-Jacques Taylor clearly so deep within his mind. And I didn't think that it was inspired by any sort of noble team rallying cause by Dez in the end. I think he just lost it.
How close do you think it got to getting physical between you and Dez?
I never thought he would hit me. But, Joe Trahan with the Cowboys got in between us. I don't know Dez really well, but I never felt like I was in danger or anything like that.
Nice to know he's following you on Twitter.
Is he?
I don't know. How did he find out that you were tweeting something? It was.
Oh, I think he was. I think he was searching for his name to see if any of the reporters would say something.
Is that the strangest thing that you've seen in a locker room?
Well, certainly in the Twitter age. I mean, the reaction was so rapid. It goes to show you how much players are plugged in and how much they really do care about what's being said about them. But, in an open locker room, you're obligated to report things like that when they come up. Now, from what I hear, he has a blow-up like this every few weeks. I mean, I saw it once last year when I was in a Dallas locker room. But as soon as he starts swearing off all the media and using obscenities to describe us, I'm going to report it. But, yeah, I'd say it is the strangest thing I've seen in a locker room.
He's Robert Klemko, Sports Illustrated, MondayMorningQuarterback.com. And you went to school for this, right? So are you ever thinking, here I am quoting somebody, calling me this, and I actually went to college for this?
Well, after it's been talked about on all these websites and radio shows and everything, it feels kind of unfortunate because you go in there to do a job. I want to interview people for a story that actually matters, and instead we're talking about this really immature person who needs some help, and unfortunately blows up on a bunch of people, and I think invariably these sorts of things get taken out of context. I mean, I haven't read one story on this that reports it correctly from top to bottom exactly what happened, and the reactions on Twitter are so quick.
Yeah.
And that people don't take the time to ingest all of the context, and then it's like it swings one way or the other. Dez is the hugest baby and worst team player in the world, or he's just defending his guys because this reporter called somebody the N-word. When in reality, none of that is true.
Where was Greg Hardy when all this was going on?
Well, that's who everybody was looking for, but apparently he's been avoiding open locker room sessions as well. Like, it was a ghost town in there. The only player that you would recognize in the Cowboys locker room yesterday was Jason Witten and Dez Bryant.
And Dez was there because he had a purpose.
I think so. I think
he could have avoided.
To talk to.
Yeah, he could have avoided Jean-Jacques Taylor if he wanted to.
At this point in the season, the only players that stay around for open locker room are the ones that want to, or feel obligated to kind of represent the team and have a voice. That's why you see veterans like Jason Witten out there, because they understand that somebody's got to speak for the team.
Robert, thank you for setting the record straight, and good luck with the next road trip, wherever you go. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, that's Robert Klemko. By the way, his Twitter handle is @Robert Klemko, if you'd like to follow him.